Welcome back, everybody. It's Vladimir. So, is it still D4 bad? It's a very interesting question. Diablo 4 Season 4 has been out for a little while now, and a lot of people are wondering whether or not the game is saved, so to speak. And so a lot of players have had a chance to explore all of the new content and what the new changes bring to the game, and kind of get a feel for where the game is at. And so today we're going to look at that and come to that decision as to whether or not it is still D4 bad. But before we do, give it a like, give it a subscribe, and hit that notification button. That way you never miss a video. Let's go check it out. All right, guys. So Diablo 4 Season 4 is called Loot Reborn. That means they revamped the loot system. I dislike the fact that they used the loot revamp as a season. I really think that is disrespectful to the players, considering this is something they should have fixed a long time ago. It is something players have paid for when they purchased the game, because they paid AAA prices for it, for a game that is a live service game that was a mess and a complete mess on release, and has been for the last year. Yes, there has been incremental gains and increases to performance and quality of the game. I will give credit where credit is due. However, I believe this to be a very lazy season, and it's getting old. It's getting old real fast. But that being said, there's a lot of changes that came with Season 4 as well. So obviously the loot system got revamped. We're going to talk about that in a minute. One of the biggest changes, though, is with the Helltide. So let's go check that out. All right, so there's been a lot of changes to the Helltide, and so one of the things that we're going to point out right away in the top right corner of the screen here is a threat meter now. So as I go around killing mobs, that threat meter increases, and eventually when it reaches maximum, we get a hell invasion, and we get a bunch of mobs that spawn on us and try to kill us and so forth like that. There's also these tunnel worms that will spawn on you when you're riding around or just even standing still, which are really kind of fun. They're kind of random. It's kind of annoying how they knock you off your horse all the time, and there's some invisible wall situations with them. But I believe that's fixed, or getting fixed, at least, which is, it's okay. But overall, the Helltide is a positive experience now. So, which means that a lot of people are enjoying it, and I agree. It is also the best place to get experience now, so that is also a benefit. However, that's also a drawback, because it now pretty much negates everything else in the game as far as leveling. Players are always going to kind of gravitate towards what is most efficient, what is best. That doesn't change. That never changes. And so that's basically just the way it is. Now, they need to try and innovate some way to incorporate other stuff in the game, make other stuff more valuable, worth doing. Some of the new events that they've added include some like the Blood Maiden right now that's actually spawned in front of us here, and we're fighting. It's kind of a pain in the ass when you get into higher level hardcores. That flame ring right there will actually take you out really quickly if you don't have the right gear for it. But either way, the Blood Maiden is a cool little boss fight. It's a kind of mini boss fight. That's the best way I can describe it. There are plenty of other little events running around as well, and I will show you those here in a moment. There's one actually right above us, as you can see with the little diamond on the mini map, right up here. There's one right above us that we can check out. So we're going to go check that out here in a second. I do want to point out something with the loot. If you notice, one of the items I have here drops with a kind of a weird star symbol. This means this item has a greater affix. This is part of the new loot system, and we're going to talk about that. So pay attention for those. You'll see 1, 2, or 3 drop beside an item sometimes. Okay, so now moving up here, this is one of the events. It's a pillar that spawns this thing, and you gotta stay inside the circle for as long as you can without dying to get to the end. It takes a while. It is possible to do. It takes a while, but you got to get to the end, and you spawn some more guys. So obviously, as you can see, there's lots more going on with the Helltide. So the Helltide gets a thumbs up for me. It's a big positive. It's a win. they've definitely brought the Helltide in the right direction, which is a fantastic thing. Moving on. All right, so now we're going to talk about the Loot Reborn. Okay, so itemization in the game has been a shit show from day one. Resistances didn't work, for example. There's just too much shit going on all over the place. A lot of stuff they could have solved with just a simple loot filter, but they chose not to do that. They wanted to revamp the whole system, which is fine because it needed a revamp. Like, it was just a mess. So we all agree on that. Now, what they've changed, I'm not sure they went about the right way of doing. So typically when you're leveling, and as we mentioned, Helltide's the best way to level these days, you would start off with your whites, blues, and yellows. Those are your first items. So on yellows, which are your rare items, instead of the previous 4 affixes you would get, you are now only going to get 2 affixes on each item, which can be shown right here on the screen. This sword now only comes with intelligence, critical strike. That's actually a nice sword for what it is. Boots, intelligence, life per second. Okay. And on legendaries, you're only going to get 3 affixes versus the 4 that you used to get. So there's a little trick to this now. It's called tempering. And when you go to the blacksmith and you come over here, you go to the temper system. And this is where some of the issues come in. Okay, so you can temper items. So sacred items, you can add 1 affix to either one. Ancestral items, you can add 2 affixes. So that means legendaries will now have 5 and rares will have 4. Okay, which now brings us to tempering, which is a system that allows you to add affixes to the items, which is kind of cool. Expected it to be a lot like enchanting. In fact, it is pretty much enchanting, except there's some problems with it. And I don't like these problems. And I predicted that these problems were going to cause a lot of issues, and I was 100% right, and they are causing issues. Left, right, and center. In fact, there's lots of arguments on the forums right now. You can easily check it out anytime you want, about tempering being a bad system. And the reason being is tempering can potentially ruin your item. Let's check that. So for this example, we're going to use a ring. We're going to put that item into the tempering slot. Now, ideally, for the build I'm going with, I'm building a Shadow Minion Necro. And ideally, what I'm going to want on here is increased damage to cursed enemies and ultimate cooldown. So to temper, you need to select from 2 categories. So we're going to need right here, damage to cursed enemies, profane finesse. And then the other one is going to be in the resource, which is going to be ultimate cooldown. We're going to go for the cursed enemies first. We're going to temper, skip, and Cabre damage. We're going to temper, corpse tendril damage. We're going to temper, Cabre damage. We're going to temper again, corpse tendril damage. Temper again, corpse tendril damage, which we just had, keep that in mind. And temper again, Iron Maiden damage. Profane finesse, we can no longer temper that item. We have just essentially bricked the item for our build. So this is the problem that people are having, is that now I am stuck with something Iron Maiden I don't even use. I can't change it. I can't do anything with it. This right now is basically worth doing this. You walk over here to the vendor and just sell it because it is now garbage. That is the problem with the tempering. The mats is no problem at all. It's cheap enough to do. For example, to temper this one piece, it's gonna, here, we'll just pick anything. As you can see, I've got plenty of materials. The prices are fine. I am happy with that. What the problem is that people are having with getting the same stat over and over and over again. As you saw, I got the same ones multiple times. I have no choice in the matter. And it gets to a certain point where it locks it out. I can no longer temper any further. This is wrong and it should not be done. If I have to spend materials on the item, it should not completely destroy the item or ruin the item for me. Now, there's going to be those who argue, oh yeah, well, it's still a good item. It's still an item. You can still use it. Yeah, you can use it, but you're going to replace that piece of shit as soon as you possibly can. So why would you use it? If you have something that is already better or equal to it without the tempers, why in the hell would you use it? So this is part of the system that's pissing people off. Which brings us to the next system. Masterworking. Again, needs work. Kind of possibly in the right direction, but needs work. So Masterworking, I'm not sure if I have the materials for it. Okay, I have the materials to do one anyways. Okay, so Masterworking needs to be done on an item that you've already tempered. I'm not doing it on this item. Okay, we'll do it on these gloves. All right, so as you can see, there's a cost associated with it. It's going to be rawhide, we have crystals, obdacite. Obdacite is going to come out of the pit. We'll get to that in a moment. The problem with this is, again, is the cost associated with it. So right now it's not so bad. One, I get to increase all my affixes by 5%, and great, I got an upgrade, which is indicated by these dots right below it. And then when you get to the next level, it'll switch to triangles, and the next level, so forth like that, right? Now, the problem is when you get to the fourth one, it gives a huge boost to one stat, one of your stats. Which stat you have no control over, and which stat doesn't necessarily benefit you. Unfortunately, I don't really have bad examples right now. I spent a lot of gold and resources. So when you get to the point where you hit the 4 upgrades and then you go to reset, you can reset right here by reset masterwork ranks and then roll the same stat again. Over and over and over. I've seen people reset it. I personally have reset this and rolled the same stat after 4 rolls 5 times in a row. Absolutely useless. Which basically brings you into the next issue, which is the farming part. So this is now a grind and a half. And I don't mind earning mats to make stuff, but when it comes to this bad, I have a problem with it. So in order to get materials for masterworking, you need to come to Saragar and you need to do this. You need to go to the pit. Okay, so now you need to farm for the one we were doing is obdacite. So we'll do a quick one right here real quickly just show you. So you got to go into the pit. This is the new end game activity. It's 200 levels, and basically it's just like the greater rifts or rifts that we did in Diablo 3. You got to go in, you got to kill a whole bunch of enemies as fast as you can. You have a time limit of 15 minutes, and then once that time limit's over, then you're out of time and you don't get the rewards you want, whatever the case may be. So the goal is to fully clear and kill the boss within the 15 minutes. So I'm doing this on my 93 necro, so it's not as fast, but I am only doing a level 1, so we're still gonna move pretty quick. Now, so this is where you're gonna get the mats, like I was saying, for your masterworking. This is important because now this is the only place you can get mats for masterworking. Not counting so you don't get any from the uber bosses or anything like that, which really you should, in my opinion. So you have no choice. You're forced to farm this. And right now there is one person, I think, or one group that is known to have actually hit tier 150. So people can't even max this out. They can't reach the end. So they can't speed run it and just push through because they're not strong enough. And these are people with like obscene gear, just ridiculous gear, and they can't even push past 150. Like, they're struggling. So it needs to be retuned, that's for sure. Now the problem with the match though is that, as you can see, there's a lot of people complaining already. There's a lot of people that can't get past level 90, never mind 150. So these people that reach extremely high levels in the pit, these are the people that are either RMTing, which is real money transactions, which is another problem, exploiting, or getting people to help them with, or just giving them mats to farm like some popular streamers are, to get all the Ubers and stuff that they want. That's the only way people are getting up there, is because there's no way people can afford it. So now, once you complete it, you open the chest, and you get your crafting mats. Now, for each rank has different levels of mats. So there are different levels that you got to go through. And it changes every 30 levels, I believe. So for example, we started Obdicite, and then at tier 30 you go to Ingolith. At tier 60 you go to Netharian, and I believe there's 12 levels of Masterworking or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is. But needless to say, it's going to be extremely painful to farm those. So now we go back. I can add another level onto my gloves that we were doing. Wrong vendor here. So we can add another level onto the gloves. Oh, no, I can't. I'm still one short. So now you can convert mats if you go over here and you go to the Alchemist, and you can go to Transmutation, and you go to, what is it? Yeah, crafting materials. So you can actually convert these into different mats, which is great. That helps. However, it still brings into the issue where you're going to go and say masterwork this 4 times to get the wrong stat. Then you're gonna reset it. Then you're gonna have to masterwork it again 4 times, get the wrong stat. Then you're gonna masterwork it again 4 times, get the wrong stat. Then you're and I blew 100 million in 20 minutes doing this. So it is absolutely ridiculous how much grinding they're expecting players to do with this. Unless that person has the luckiest RNG in the world, this is going to be a painful system. Now this brings us into the next issue I see with things. So trading has been enabled, which I think actually there should have been some limitations. I believe boss materials should be soulbound, that people should not be able to sell them and trade them en masse. Now, so we're looking at a site right now. This is the site created by Diablo Sanctuary. It's Diablo.trade listings. Okay. And so looking for a pair of gloves for my necromancer. Okay. My current balance in my account, or for my gold right now, is 43 million. I've spent 100 million in 20 minutes. Okay. So now ideally I want a greater affix on all 3 of my stats, which is hard to come by. So we'll just look at, say, possibility of 1 or 2. Now, I need Skeletal Mage Mastery, which I've selected in the filter, as well as Critical Strike. So right now, even just looking at this, at a 925 item with 1 greater affix at Skeletal Mage Mastery, you're looking at 200 million gold. Okay. Here with a greater affix on Critical Strike chance and Skeletal Mastery, you're looking at 3.33 billion gold. And as you can see, going through these, the prices are astronomical. This is a problem, and this is why RMT is a huge issue right now. Nobody's farming 3.33 billion gold just to buy 1 pair of gloves, to put them in the game, and then possibly brick them. Nobody is doing that. Nobody. You would be completely brain dead to be able to do that. Like that is such a waste of time. Now, yes, people can sell their items to make gold, which I'll tell you right now, the system is not friendly. It's not user friendly. There needs to be systems in game for this. People don't have time to sit here all day watching trade boards on a website when they're supposed to be playing a game, or they've got other things to do in their lives. So RMT is completely out of hand right now. Actually, I think I have trade disabled right now, which is why you can't see any. So trade chat, the spam for websites has gone completely through the roof because people are selling stuff non-stop. Like, and not only that, people are RMTing items themselves. So people are getting greater affix items and they're RMTing those. So the RMT area, the real money transaction area out of this game is just completely haywire. So right now, this is where it stands for items and the new Loot Reborn system. So this, guys, is where I'm at with Diablo 4. They've made good changes. Yes, I will give credit where the credit is due. Is D4 still bad? Yes. But it has hope. Okay? So basically, the way I look at it is this. It is a lot more fun to play. Endgame still sucks balls. Period. Sucks balls. Grinding that pit, hundreds and hundreds of hours to go get mats. Well, maybe not hundreds of hours, but you know what I mean. Grinding the pit, grinding gold caps, or not gold caps, gold drops need to be increased extraordinarily increased. Like, we do not get enough gold, period. They've got prices way too high. Items are being sold way too high, which are being sold at unreasonable amounts, which are clearly being RMT'd for. This is a clear thing that's happening here. And gold sellers are just going through the roof right now, making profit, because that's what's happening. So there needs to be fixes to the tempering system. There needs to be fixes to the Masterworking system. There needs to be adjustments to the pit. These are the three main systems that they put in the game. The other issue, the last part of it, is they have rendered rares and legendaries pretty much obsolete unless they have greater affixes. So, like, once you reach a certain level, you will not even look at those again. The rares are absolutely, I avoid picking them up if possible, because of the fact that I'm going straight for a legendary, because of the fact I get 3 stats on that versus 2 stats on a rare. So yeah, they've ruined some items. They've helped some items. But that's where I stand as for Diablo 4 being bad. It has hope, but it is still in a bad place. And the fact that they did no season, like they did an Iron Wolves quest line, which is, yeah, okay. But guess what it was? Farm the Helltide over and over and over again. So by the end of this season, nobody's going to want to touch Helltide again. That's the way it is. Anyhow, thanks for watching. If you like the video, please give it a like, subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification button. That way you don't miss a video. Until next time, though, keep gaming.